Watch collecting isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Well, at least it should be. But once you dive into this world, it's easy to start rushing, chasing others' opinions rather than doing what is right for you. After years of collecting and running this channel, connecting with thousands of collectors around the world, I have seen the pitfalls that leave people frustrated and the balance that keeps this hobby fun for others. In this video, what I want to do is reflect on my own journey and the journey that I have seen from others to share the biggest takeaways that can make you a better and more satisfied watch collector, all while helping you to avoid the issues that can arise. I'm gonna go into 5 big takeaways that really helped me on my journey that I've also noticed through trends of other people that I've helped out over the years and I just see on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully you can come away from this video with some nice wisdom and you look at your collecting philosophy a bit different as you go forward. In the early stages of collecting, we become fixated on trying to belong to the group of enthusiasts, thinking that the only way to obtain satisfaction is to race quickly to the completion of what might be perceived as the final endpoint in the collecting field. It makes sense why we think this way. We are programmed as we are young to be task-oriented. Complete grade 1, then proceed to grade 2. Complete level 1 in the game, then maybe unlock this cool thing. Work hard and take on more responsibilities at work, and maybe you get a promotion or a pay increase that will come along with that. That is the story we repeatedly tell ourselves, and many, myself included, think the best idea is to apply this style of thinking to our interests, such as watch collecting. What this usually leads to is the following: buying watches too quickly without giving internal thought about who we are, considering what others will think rather than what we will enjoy, and removing emotion from our purchases altogether, which checks off boxes like a grocery list more than it is a process of expression. One of the most freeing realizations that has come with collecting, which I wish I could go back and tell myself at the beginning, is that there is no end or point of completion with a collection. At first, this idea might feel uncomfortable. It's daunting to think about, as we usually equate the end with a point of accomplishment. Yet that is not how we should view collecting. When we shift from a mindset of completion to a mentality of endlessness, we begin to take pressure off ourselves. We slow down, knowing that all of this can't be done at once, and we see every acquisition for what it should be, a step toward a better understanding of ourselves. Many enthusiasts rush to assemble a collection that ticks every box. This kind of rigidity can be helpful at times, however, it can also create an accumulation of watches with no elasticity for change. Some of this desire to complete a collection is driven by the thought that we should be able to proudly show off what we have decided to add to our collection to others, as if the watches we own are enclosed pieces of artwork behind glass and untouchable. A healthier, more accurate way to look at it, your collection is not a sealed gallery piece. It's a lifelong body of work. A story that only gets its final binding when your life does. There is no end, it is simply a documentation of our journey through beautiful little objects that can tell our story with us. Now, whenever we're spending a significant amount of money on something, it's always prudent to exercise caution and thoughtfulness. Because let's be real, tossing away hundreds, even thousands of dollars without considering the long term, that's never a smart move. So if you have been collecting long enough, you recognize a vital takeaway about yourself as a collector. Your tastes change over time. I know mine certainly have, and there was a time when I only wanted dress watches in my collection. Then I went through this tool watch phase, and then I used to avoid anything over 40 millimeters, and now that's all changed. This refinement of taste comes with time. Hindsight always makes it appear that our current collecting philosophy should have been obvious all along, and all of the buying and selling could have been avoided if we just knew better. Sure, discernment can go a long way, particularly in avoiding unnecessary spending. However, in my case, this evolution of taste can only be perfected through experiencing watches. For most of us, this idea of experience sure can come from going to a store and trying on watches, but a lot of it ultimately comes with taking the watch with you, owning it, and experiencing it on a day-to-day basis. We often view these changes in our collection as mistakes, and we often beat ourselves up when they occur. After reflecting on my own journey and helping thousands of others with collecting, I've come to realize something. Mistakes in collecting rarely exist unless we're speaking about extremes. If you can comfortably afford a watch with your discretionary income, then even if you do end up moving on from it, I don't think that was wasted, because in these moments you gain the advantage of learning about yourself and become a better collector. We often celebrate the watches that stick. We call them the keepers. But looking back, the pieces that taught me the most weren't the ones that I held on to. They were the ones I moved on from. With every watch I've owned, I've walked away with new insight, and that meant the next decision I made was a better one. I bring this up also just to say that you shouldn't be hard on yourself about something no longer being a fit for you. This is natural and will make your body of work as a collector more impressive, complimenting you as a result. Watch collecting is a highly in-the-know hobby, which can lead to a desire to showcase our knowledge and exquisite taste to others. For me, one of the best and worst things that has ever happened to me as a collector, and I want to stress as a collector, not a person, was posting my very first video on this channel. If you weren't here from the early days, that first video was one of my watch collection at the time. Now fast forward a couple of years after that, and my collection looked completely different. So I posted another video, and that's when it hit me. I wasn't collecting for myself anymore. I was simply making a show of my collecting. The truth is, no one cares as much as you do about your collection, no matter how hard you may try. This very realization is why I have not posted my personal collection for over 5 years on this channel, and that's probably not going to change despite all of you guys asking about it over and over again. When we let others steer the ship for us, we strip away the most satisfying aspect of the hobby and completely defeat its purpose. I have seen this play out repeatedly over the years, where some collectors desperately crave acknowledgement. They buy more and more flashier pieces, but the validation never lands the way that they hoped. They end up shoehorning their watch into conversations only to get the polite, "Oh, that's cool," anyway, and then it follows with emptiness. So they chase it again with their next purchase, and again after that. Always trying to one-up, never satisfied as a result though. This is all fleeting, as you probably have figured out, as no one will ever match your enthusiasm for what you own, nor will it ever fill a larger void in your life. Here's the funny thing about all of this. The answer is usually the opposite of what most people expect. When you stop chasing reactions and you just simply start collecting purely based off of what you think is cool, the satisfaction you've been searching for finally shows up. Not from others, but from within, and what you decide to determine is best for you. I think one of the most valuable questions you can ask yourself before a purchase is, what if nobody knew that I own this watch? Would I still buy it? If the answer is yes, you're probably on the right path. As someone who discusses watches online, you can imagine I receive a lot of questions about them. I always try to be helpful, yet there is one question type that I constantly receive that actually drives me a little mad, and I also just can't answer it. And it involves comparing two watches, especially when they're dramatically different. For example, should I get an Omega Speedmaster or a Rolex Explorer? And yes, I get that question quite a bit. To a newcomer, this might seem like a pretty straightforward question. To someone in my shoes, it's the equivalent of going up to a car dealership and saying, what is better? Should I go for a coupe or an SUV? Now here's how I see my role on this channel. I can provide you with the facts, the specs, and just my perspective, and hopefully make it entertaining in the process. But ultimately, you are the most crucial factor in the decision-making process, and only you can make the choice. The same thought process applies if you look to your friends locally, go to social media, or visit a retail shop. You have to take the lead in those scenarios too. For some, the trap is the fear of making the wrong decision, so they try to put it in the hands of others or rationalize it with specifications on paper, overlooking the most crucial aspect of any buying decision, themselves. It's not about what the collector community thinks is hot at any given moment, how long the wait list is, the value for money of the piece, or even the brand on the dial. It's about enjoyment. Remember, this is an emotional decision. Watches are not necessary in today's world. If you're like me, you appreciate them because of their ability to showcase a craft, be well constructed, and last for the long haul in a disposable world. These small objects are expressions of design that allow us to show a bit of ourselves while also offering some utility in the process. By all means, do your homework, gather as much info as you possibly can about what you want to acquire next, but don't seek others' opinions endlessly where your own perspective is diluted. You've probably figured this out by now that mechanical watches are relatively expensive. And if you've watched this channel long enough, you know my stance that any watch purchase nowadays is a luxury, as none of this is truly necessary in our lives. Now further, I have always advocated financial responsibility and never having a watch purchase cause strain on your situation. Now since watches require spending money, there is an inextricable connection that comes with spending money on collecting that can divert us from our path. One place where you might catch yourself is the hunt to acquire something new becomes so intoxicating that you neglect enjoying what you already have. You're constantly chasing that next dopamine hit that comes with an acquisition. Another place that can be dangerous is the idea that the money spent is an indicator of enjoyment. The prominent place people usually go here is that more money that you spend, the more a watch should excite you. If you've ever been in this position and wanted to test that hypothesis, you probably know that this is far from the truth, and that far less expensive watches can bring you just as much enjoyment as expensive ones, if not more. The logical framework of thinking more will provide us with more doesn't work in the arena of emotions that is watch collecting. When discussing the concept of money in the collecting world, we are usually more critical of the pricey side of things, which makes sense. However, the inverse can also lead you astray. In American culture, we are constantly hit with the concept of deals. I have a close friend who is obsessed with this idea where when they acquire something new, it isn't about whether they need it or even that they want the thing or service. What matters more than anything else is that they got a deal. If you look around in watch collecting, you will also find this, where someone is more drawn to the deal or how relatively inexpensive it is compared to another, while forgetting to ask the most crucial question of all: do I actually enjoy this watch? Enjoyment in watches isn't measured by money spent or money saved. Money will always be a factor in this game, so you can never entirely neglect it. Most people set a budget, then try to max it out, buying the best watch they can afford at the top of their budget. But what I have found is far more useful is flipping that mindset. Don't start with just a budget. Start with what genuinely moves you. When you do so, you'll get rid of the idea of merely examining a decision as spending money. Instead, you can really make an honest assessment of what stirs you, and from there, you can make an adjustment to delay your collecting to save longer, and at times, it even means realizing that the watch that speaks to you the most doesn't even come close to stretching to the end of your budget. When you start approaching collecting this way, a freedom is unlocked, where you stop measuring what you own or aspire to own in terms of money spent, and instead you start seeing watches as they should be. If I could leave you with anything as a final thought here, it would just be this: collecting should be fun. It should bring you joy. Life is so arduous at times. It can be very difficult. This hobby shouldn't exacerbate those challenges. It shouldn't add stress. It should give you relief from some of the challenges of life. The timeline or expectations of others does not matter in this game. It really is a personal journey that only is yours to tell. So tell it well and do it on your own terms. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This was more of an introspective type of video to construct. I really had to think about, what have I learned on this journey? What do I see on a day-to-day basis? Because I do have this luxury of being able to work with so many different watch collectors on a daily basis as they're trying to figure out the similar challenges as just building a watch collection. But as I mentioned at the end, this should all be fun, and this was really just something that I could just offer up if I was thinking back to my earlier self when I was getting into this world of watch collecting. What would I tell myself and what would I have wanted to know to shape the philosophy that I have now around this hobby? Hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Really do appreciate that. Over 70% of the people that watch this channel are not subscribed, so if you can give me a subscription, really appreciate that. It does help us out within YouTube. I don't care as much about the subscriber numbers these days, but the YouTube overlords seem to, so if you can help us out there, really would appreciate it. Also, definitely check out TeddyBaldister.com, full authorized dealer of over 35 brands. Every purchase from our website comes with quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer, and allows us to keep doing what we're doing here. And as you can tell, we love what we do. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I'll see you all very soon.